Air it out, air it out. I had to clear it out, clear it out. I feel like Superman to tear it down. Comp as a quarterback and send him out. I feel that air it out, air it out. I had to clear it out, clear it out. I feel like Superman to tear it down. Comp as a quarterback and send him out. Take off. I'm in a rocket, a space dog. Bought a new car from Elon, wanna race. I've been asking how long is it gonna take. I've been cracking the car, had to break it safe. I've been riding my wrongs, had to change my ways. I was stuck in one place, so I had to shake. They try holding me down, but I found my way. Riding rich and no bicycle, love me. Ride away, then my heart went all ice again. Find the balance, my patience been going thin. In the field every day till I reach the end. Popping up on your side like we out of bounds. Ain't no way that they think that it's stopping now. I've been waiting for my turn to come around. I've been waiting for my turn to come around. Air it out, air it out. I had to clear it out, clear it out. I feel like Superman and tear it down. Comp as a quarterback and send him out. I feel that air it out, air it out. I had to clear it out, clear it out. I feel like Superman and tear it down. Comp as a quarterback and send him out.
Up, football fans. My name is Avery, and welcome to the Air It Out podcast brought to you by Inside the Hashes. As you can see, I've got two great analysts here with me. One of them, their name is Mr. Christopher Thomas. Chris, say what's up to the folks.
Hey, what's going on, peoples?
Yes, yes, yes. And please, please, please. As a matter of fact, Chris, I'll let you do it. Tell everybody where they need to tune in for yours.
Well, first off, Air It Out podcast has always been my first home, but now I have a radio show here in Philadelphia, PA on 98.5 WJYN every Tuesday from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern. If you want to call in, the number's 215-763-9596.
That's right. Don't forget to check that out, all right? Check out the Running Back podcast, all right? Now, I guess I don't know. So I don't like the way I'm looking next to me. I would say that way. Is the Juan, and again, soon to not be. Anyway, Juan, say what's up to the people.
What's up? I guess this would be my right, but on the screen is your left. So touch hands at that point. It's like I'm on the other side of the wall.
Am I doing it right? Am I on the right side? There we go. Okay. I don't. Anyway, what's up, y'all?
You'll get it together.
We'll get it together one day. All right, listen. It's the Air It Out podcast. As you know, we have a new streaming time, 10 a.m. on Saturdays. We are here today at 5 p.m. strictly because life happens, ladies and gentlemen. Life happens. I'm not even going to get into all the details, but we're going to get into some football. All right. The regular season is right around the corner, ladies and gentlemen. We're at the cusp, okay? We're at the precipice, if you will, of the regular season, and we still have things happening, right? We've got the preseason football going on, but technically it's still like off-season stuff going on. Speaking of which, trades, ladies and gentlemen, trades. If you have not heard, Trey Lance has been traded from the San Francisco 49ers to the Dallas Cowboys. Okay, so on Wednesday, Trey asked for a trade, and by Friday he is in Dallas. All right, he asked for a trade Wednesday. By Friday he is in Dallas. I want to know what you guys think about this trade. I'm going to start with you, Juan. What do you think about Trey Lance going to Dallas for a 4th round pick? Who's the winner in this trade?
I like the value. 4th round pick. I think it's too much for what you're getting in Lance, which is someone who's only won 2 games as a starter, but hasn't had much playing experience either because he was sitting behind Jimmy G the whole time or because he was injured. 4th rounder, not a bad value for the 49ers. I will say it's kind of a dumb move that you traded him to probably one of your biggest out-of-division rivals in the entire league, to the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, both of you are playoff contenders. Both of you might be set up in a situation where you might have to see Trey Lance step onto the field in case Dak Prescott isn't really, performing. So, and not only that, you have given your rival your playbook essentially. Trey Lance knows the Kyle Shanahan offensive system from his 3 years in San Francisco. So you just basically gave the Dallas Cowboys the recipe to beat. Essentially, doesn't mean that Lance might see the field, but at least he knows what the playbook's going to look like in certain situations. As for like Trey himself, I'm glad he's getting like a new environment. He's going to learn a lot from Dak being in front of him, which I feel like is healthy in terms of like his style. I feel like Trey Lance could model a lot of himself after Dak Prescott in terms of play style, in terms of refining his throwing mechanics and using his mobility more. I feel like he can learn a lot from Dak Prescott. And I like that a lot. For him.
Okay. So to your point though about Trey handing them the offense essentially, and I mean there is speculation that that's the reason that Trey was traded in the first place is because he couldn't grasp the offense, that he could not play in Kyle Shanahan's offense. Chris, to that point, do you believe or do you agree with what Juan is articulating as far as now Dallas might have a one-up on San Francisco if they were to meet in the playoffs, or in a very in a meaningful game, in the future?
I mean, I don't think the playbook thing kind of really doesn't really matter because this is a team that scored all 3 times in the last 2 years, 2 times specifically in the playoffs. So this is a team that legitimately was very familiar with each other. So I don't think the whole playbook aspect kind of really plays into it. And first off, good for Trey Lance to get out of a situation. If a team does not want you and is wasting your time, then just get out of there. We're in an era in terms of player empowerment. Players want better for themselves. And right now, unfortunately, because the way San Fran handles it, that Trey Lance is now viewed as a backup. But Trey Lance has kind of a similar style to Dak Prescott. So God forbid Dak Prescott misses any games. He is still mobile enough to do still the RPO stuff with him and Tony Pollard. You have a decent offensive line, and you have a legitimate receiving core in CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, and Michael Gallup to throw to. But I'm going to focus more on the spotlight in terms of the 49ers. And no one could still answer this question for me. If you weren't going to give – Trey Lance has been in that building for 2 years. First year, I can understand. You wanted to sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo to learn the offense, to learn the NFL speed because he only had 1 year starting in Division II because of the COVID year. Fine, I understand that. Second year, you get hurt, so he wasn't able to practice. So what was the point of you trading 3 first-round picks for a guy that you were going to get rid of only after 4 starts? I don't buy the whole thing in terms of Sam Darnold outplaying Trey Lance for the starting spot because if what happened between you pushing Trey Lance to be the definitive starter after trying to push Jimmy Garoppolo out of the building to now being your quarterback 3, either he was legitimately as bad as advertised in terms of what reports are saying, or the fact that Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch just botched this move. And let me remind you, you could have gotten Jalen Waddle, you could have gotten Devontae Smith to play alongside Deebo Samuel. You could have got Rashard Slater to fortify your right tackle spot to go along with Trent Williams. You could have got Michael Parsons to put on the other side along with Joey Bosa or in your linebacker spot with Fred Warner. There were
you could have also gotten Mac Jones, who could fit the system a lot better than Lance could. It's still a question mark is why they traded up for him in the first place. That was never really
so to that point, I think. So okay, so to your point, Chris, there's a bunch of guys they could have had. They could have drafted Kyle Pitts, tight end next to George Kittle, right, and go double tight and really just, threaten the seams, threaten the middle of the field all day, no matter who's the quarterback there. You could have gotten Jamar Chase, who we've seen emerge as one of the best receivers in the NFL. There's a case that can be made that he is the best receiver in the NFL. You've got Jalen Waddle, to your point. Jalen Waddle, who's performed since he's come into the league. You're talking about Penei Sewell as well, who could have absolutely benefited. You could have benefited from on your offensive line. J.C. Horn, who could have helped you on the back end of your defense, even though we're still
Oh my God, yeah.
Yes, now the jury's still out on Horn. Pat Surtain, Devontae Smith, Justin Fields, who again could have probably been a better fit for the offense. Micah Parsons, to your point, and then Rashawn Slater.
You didn't even have to trade up. You could have just waited for Mac Jones to fall to you. That's
exactly
my thing.
So for me,
where was San Francisco before in that draft? I think they were like 9th, 10th.
No, they were 12th.
They were 12. Yeah, you had so many options that could have dropped to you still.
So for me, this is where I think the winners here are Dallas and Trey. The losers are San Francisco. And I'm not saying San Francisco lost in the sense of, in this trade that they got a bad deal. I think what they gave up to move up to get Trey, what they got in return for him, and what they could have had they not done the trade in the first place. I think overall, holistically, they lose in this situation. But I like it for Trey. Juan, to your points, he gets to sit under a veteran, proven quarterback who knows how to play the position well enough to get your team into the playoffs, play well enough to get your team into even talks of Super Bowl consideration. Now, we've seen it obviously fall flat, but the fact of the matter is he plays well enough to get you to those points. And then for Dallas as a whole, you've got somebody who now, let's say that does, get injured, God forbid, you've got somebody with a similar play style as Dak, so your offense doesn't have to shift entirely too much. However, for me, my question is, would he even beat out Cooper Rush as the backup? Because we saw what Cooper Rush did when Dak was out previously. I mean, Cooper Rush was playing so well, they were thinking maybe we don't need to go back to Dak this season. So
the new NFL rules have it so where you can carry 3 quarterbacks. So like Lance will certainly make that roster.
When I'm saying beat him out for the second. I'm saying, and I say that because we keep talking about, well, what if Dak gets injured? Trey Lance is just going to automatically come in. For me, I can't say that because what I saw from Cooper Rush lends itself to the fact that Cooper Rush needs to be the second quarterback on this team. I don't care what Trey Lance does at all. I don't care at all what he does from now until the start of the season and until, God forbid, hopefully it won't happen if Dak ever does get hurt. I don't care. What I saw from Cooper Rush made me a believer in Cooper Rush in the Dallas offense. So,
okay. All right, that's all fine and good. That's all fine and good. That's now Dallas's issue to worry about. But for me, the guy only had 4 starts in 2 years. You're never going to know, especially a first-round pick, who he is after 4 starts. Sam Darnold got more of a longer leash than Sam Darnold, Josh Rosen, Baker Mayfield. Any of these quarterbacks that have come along the last 5 years have gotten more longer of a leash to try to evaluate and figure out more in terms of who they are as a quarterback than what we see with Trey Lance. The only reason why,
to your point, then with Sam Darnold, right? He's been around the league, so it wouldn't surprise me, I should say, if he was able to grasp Kyle Shanahan's offense more so than a Trey Lance.
He's been around the league. Like Trey Lance couldn't grasp about the offense in the first place, or was it a failure of Kyle Shanahan to try to teach the offense?
I always believe.
Where's the fact that Shanahan can't, or Shanahan can't build an offense around Trey Lance's skill set?
I always believe that a lot of that falls on the coaches, right? If you were successful because he was successful in college, right? So to me, a lot of that comes down to, yes, some of it falls on the player as responsibility, but I believe from a coaching standpoint, a lot of the responsibility falls on them. For example, I truly believe that thus far the Ravens have failed Lamar Jackson. He should have developed into a much better quarterback than what he is right now. And this is not to say that he's a horrible quarterback, because I would never say that, but he should have, his mechanics are absolutely horrible. He has every tool in the bag. He's got a cannon for an arm. We obviously know the athleticism. He's got the IQ, all those different things. It's his mechanics that separate him from the elite. And for me, that goes on to coaching. So the point I'm making is, yes, I believe that coaching plays a huge part in that, Juan. But at the same time, I can't just put it all on the coaches. That's why I add the question, was Sam Darnold just able to grasp it a little bit faster than Trey was able to in his time in San Fran?
I understand that, but I'm sorry. You can't convince me that a guy that was outperformed by PJ Walker on the same Carolina Panthers team is a better backup option than a guy that hasn't even gotten an opportunity to even showcase himself yet.
You said he didn't get an opportunity, but he's been in the system. My thing, because here's my thing. We would hope and we would want quarterbacks to come in and just grasp things immediately, right? The reality is that's not the case for everybody. Some people are people who take a while to digest, but once they get it, they got it, right? The reality is the window for the San Francisco 49ers to wait for somebody to fully digest it and get it is short. They are Super Bowl prep right now. They are Super Bowl prime right now. That defense is absolutely out of this world. They've got a phenomenal running game. They've got weapons on the outside. Debo being probably the greatest. Like, this team should have won a Super Bowl already. They've been there, right? Like, they should have won a Super Bowl already. The only thing that has stopped them from doing that is the quarterback play. So for me, I understand why they're saying potentially, like, wait a second, it's taking you a little bit longer than we have to grasp this offense. I'm not saying that this is the case. I'm saying that it makes me curious. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, Avery.
That's it.
Avery, we knew the 49ers timeline was for Super Bowl titles and better when they traded up to get Trey Lance. If you weren't going to be patient with him, then what was the point of you making that trade to begin with?
Very simple. They probably saw something that made them think, and they were wrong, oh, he's going to be able to get this real quick. That's what happens. Like, you go and you evaluate and you say, oh man, this dude, I think
then you should have went harder to get a guy like Tom Brady. Keep all your picks and then get a guy like Micah Parsons.
The pre-draft process also had Trey Lance marked as a Josh Allen kind of quarterback. He was a project quarterback going into this.
Without question, but you got to remember who we're talking about. Kyle Shanahan has made, he's made some really mediocre quarterbacks look really good. I mean, let's talk about it. Is Brock Purdy really that good?
No.
We don't know. We've seen him in that system. Is Jimmy Garoppolo really that good? We don't know. We've seen him in that system. Let's see what he does for the Raiders this year. And then I'll be able to decide whether or not Jimmy Garoppolo is like that. Like, we got to understand that people make mistakes in their evaluations all the time. We've seen it, like, people swore up and down Johnny Manziel was the next. People swore up and down.
Not three first round picks worth of mistakes, though.
Yeah. Listen,
that people fired.
Absolutely.
It won't it won't because John Lynch has earned himself that much of a lead with the rest of the draft.
Exactly.
He's got everything right but the quarterback.
That's why.
And that's the most important position for you to win.
But then they have such a rotation of quarterbacks that you can make the argument you can put anyone outside of Trey Lance in there.
That's why I don't believe this was a John Lynch decision. I believe this was a Kyle Shanahan decision that he was like, you know what? I've let you handle. You've built this team. You got us the defense. You got us all these different things. You traded and got us Christian McCaffrey. You did all these different things, but let me get my quarterback. And Kyle Shanahan blew it. Sorry, it happens.
I have to disagree. I think it was John Lynch that picked Trey Lance, and that Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones in that process. I think Lynch thought that like Shanahan was capable of molding Trey Lance into the system and work around his skill sets. But I think Kyle Shanahan just knows that it's his system. He knows what works. He doesn't want to change any part of it. And he didn't want to incorporate what Trey Lance could do. That's what I feel like happened here. I feel like, I feel like Lynch overstepped by picking the quarterback that he thought would work best for the future and the adaptation of the league. And Shanahan just did not want to adapt.
Well, congratulations, San Fran. You have arguably the best roster in the NFL, and you still have a deficiency at quarterback. You're no better than when you were when you got rid of Jimmy Garoppolo after the Super Bowl.
I mean, hey, listen. Again, I can't say that. I'm not saying Brock Purdy is or isn't the guy. I am saying that he wins football games. That's all I'm going to say. But we're going to move on to the next topic.
Tim Tebow won a playoff game also.
We're not about to do that.
We're not going to Super Bowl.
Okay, so if we want to do it, let's go there. Number one, Brock Purdy is a better quarterback than Tim Tebow. Number two, we're not going to sit here and act like Tim Tebow wasn't a dynamic football player. Number three, we're not going to act like Tim Tebow was touted as a great quarterback coming out in the first place. He was just touted as a great quarterback, as a great football player. So the reality, I mean, they were talking about changing his position to fullback and running back and tight end. That's how like a dynamic of a football player he was. So we're not going to do that. I've seen from Brock Purdy some actual like quarterback high IQ football plays. And all I'm saying is, again, I'm not saying he is the guy. I'm just not going to say that he isn't. We will see. But
look at that screen pass to Christian McCaffrey. The Christian McCaffrey took 50 yards. Ooh.
Don't do that. Again, if you're not going to watch the film, it's pointless to comment on it. Watch the film as opposed to the highlights. Watch the film and watch the decisions that he makes.
I already watched the film. It's called Jimmy Garoppolo highlights.
Here's the other part. Peyton Manning got to a Super Bowl doing the same thing. Won his second Super Bowl.
Oh, man.
So what are we talking about?
Okay. What's next? Oh, because Tom Brady was a late round pick, so it had success. Brock Purdy is going to as well.
What did I just say? I just said I'm not saying he is the guy. I'm just not saying that he isn't. You said that there's a quarterback deficiency. I disagree with that. I'm not saying that he is the savior. I'm not saying that he is the answer. What I'm saying is I don't believe that there's a deficiency.
I think we've talked enough about Trey Lance and quarterbacks. Why don't we move on to the position that's not?
Are we doing hot takes today? Because
we're not getting enough love for this position right now. Let's get to this position.
You are correct. You are correct. We got to show some love.
Seattle's going to win that division anyway.
So let me ask you guys, what is the market for Jonathan Taylor? What is the market for Jonathan Taylor? He has requested a trade, and he's been granted his request to seek a trade. So I'll start with you, Chris. What is JT's market?
Well, it's not going to be a first-round pick. Like it's been reported that like Jim Irsay and the rest of the Colts front office management wants. With trades nowadays, especially guys coming off their rookie contracts, they're like coming off expiring deals. Not only the fact you have to trade assets, but when you trade for them, you also have to give them a new brand spanking contract as well. So if I had to gauge his market, for me, especially how much I have to probably pay him afterwards, I'm spending no more than like 2 third-round picks for him.
Okay.
The running back market has been constantly devalued, and I'm not saying Jonathan Taylor is a terrible running back. Quite opposite. He's a top 5 running back, and I believe in an offense, kind of like if he were to go to Miami, he would definitely take that offense to another tier that they haven't even experienced yet. That being said, you have to look at how much the Giants have valued Saquon Barkley, how much the Raiders now just value Josh Jacobs in terms of not giving them long-term extensions. Probably 2/3 is probably the most I'll probably do for a Jonathan Taylor.
Okay. I'm not mad at it. Juan, what are your thoughts?
I think it's a crime what's happened to the running back market this past 10 years. I think that JT's options right now are Chicago, Miami, and I've heard this rumor around, but I don't know if they can pull it off. Philadelphia has also been a possible destination for him there too. But the fact of the matter is, in terms of his value, I wouldn't give up more than a late second round pick for Jonathan Taylor based on like what the market is deeming for a running back right now. A late second round pick this year and maybe a 5th or a 6th next year is what I would give up maximum for Jonathan Taylor's services. And then in terms of payment, I mean, we've been watching these running backs get 1 year, $10 to $12 million deals on prove-it deals, and that's Saquon and Josh Jacobs today, who just signed his new new contract to return to Vegas earlier today. So in terms of compensation, I'm thinking maybe like a 2-year deal worth $10 million on the first year, with the second year being an option of like $5 to $6 million, is what I would give to Jonathan Taylor based on what the market is demanding. I think that teams should pay more for his services. I think he is I think he can change a culture in terms of like the running game. And I think that Indianapolis is being idiotic in how they're handling the situation. And if he doesn't find a trade partner and he has to return to the Colts, they're going to get a very disgruntled running back who quite possibly might not show up enough to care enough to perform for this team going forward into the season.
Well, one thing I will say is I don't believe that part. I believe that Jonathan Taylor is a character individual, and I think that he cares about his character and his perception. So I think if he does show up, he's going to show up and show out. I think he's going to put his best foot forward in that regard, because I think that he's an integral person. He's also from Jersey. That's how you get down. So, but I will say this. I agree with both of you. I don't like the way that running backs are like being portrayed and devalued, because I look at it from this standpoint. And here's the reality. We keep taking the exceptions and making them the rule. So we look at guys like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, even an Aaron Rodgers, if you will. And we look at these guys who are able to perform and have success without a quote-unquote running game or a dominant running game, and then we make them the standard. But I'd venture to say, show me a quarterback who's played extremely well and had success not having a running game. It's not likely. And I'm not saying that you can't. What up, man? How you feeling? You good? Good to have you on. It's not impossible, but again, I think this is a situation where we're making the exception the rule or the standard, and it's just not the reality. Like, are we going to sit here and say, let's go back to a Jimmy Garoppolo, that if they don't have a running game, Jimmy Garoppolo is about to tear the league up. That if Brock Purdy doesn't have a running game, that he's about to tear the league up. That if Sam Howell doesn't have a running game, he's about to just be throwing this. Like, that's not the reality, ladies and gentlemen. You need a running game. And Jonathan Taylor, to Chris's point, is a top 5 running back. So for me, I believe the value should be nothing less than a first-round pick. He's still well in his prime. He's proven that, like, he can carry the load. So I don't like it. I get that the market would dictate that, he's not worth a first rounder and all those different things, but it shouldn't be that way. The reality is most of these quarterbacks would be absolute hot garbage without a running game. That's just like, are we sitting here really about to say that Geno Smith has the season that he had last year without a running game? So for me, I personally, I just don't like the disrespect that running backs are getting right now. And I understand the bitter taste in your mouth from the Le'Veon Bells and the Todd Gurley situations and all I understand it. I get it. I understand it. But the devaluing is absolute. It's just absurd at this point.
It's just a devaluing in terms of elite running backs. It's like, yeah, of course you're not going to win a running back without a running game. But it's like last year, Isaiah Pacheco was the lead back for the Kansas City Chiefs. He was a 7th-round pick. Can we really name the last time a prominent, well-known running back was the catalyst for the Super Bowl victory? You have to probably go all the way back to legitimately Marshall Faulk and like Terrell Davis. So, like, the closest that we've probably seen over the years is probably Derrick Henry. So, and it's like, it's a copycat league. It's like, we've seen now, because it's a passing league, we've seen all these good young quarterbacks with these elite wide receivers. So now the money is being funneled for $40 million and plus for these quarterbacks, and now 20 to 25 to 30 million for these wide receivers. It's going to take a very special running back or just a consistent trend of quality elite running backs to reopen that market for them. And obviously, Avery, I'm going to point this to you because you're a Falcons fan. If Bijan Robinson, before the end of his rookie contract, is the focal point of your offense and is the lead catalyst for not only Atlanta getting back to a Super Bowl and winning it, then that changes the league's perception in terms of, okay, maybe the fact that we can win with a guy that is a lead running back.
See, but even to your point, like with those great running backs, they didn't do it themselves. Like there was a team around them. You brought up Marshall Faulk. Like they weren't the greatest show on turf with Torrey Holton, Isaac Bruce, and Kurt Warner. Like it wasn't just Marshall Faulk. So it's a team game, but the running backs matter. Outside of the guys that I mentioned earlier, it matters. Like as great as Tom Brady, he needed a running game. Having a Leonard Fournette helped them win a Super Bowl in Tampa his first year there.
They shelled through that playoff run against the Rams.
Okay, but you're naming guys who are elite running backs, but like not elite. Like Leonard Fournette is still a free agent.
Again, it's not about whether you're elite or not. It's whether or not you're valuable. That's my point. I don't care who's the better running back. It's the devaluing that I have the issue with. You're trying to make it seem like they're not valuable at all. And outside of those guys, who I personally don't like, I don't think Patrick Mahomes needs a running game. He's that good. Like I personally believe that he's that good. They could go out and throw the ball 70 times per game, and I'd give them 11 wins. He's that good. But he's the exception to the rule because Jimmy Garoppolo, Trey Lance, Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, they're not doing that. They've got to have a running game as well because it's a team game. And so that's why I just don't like the devaluing of the position. That's all I'm saying. But I get it, though. I understand it. I just don't like it. But anyway, I digress. We're going to go ahead and move on. We're going to close this show out. We're going to jump into our game picks. And, we've already had some games going today. Whatever. It is what it is. But we've got time to get some other games in. So let's go with Ron. Let's start with you.
Well, I'm here watching the Jets game literally playing out before me right now. So just, admiring, seeing the greatest quarterback in the NFL right now. Well, one of them in a Jets green uniform is really nice. I don't know if I got that kind of pleasure. You know what? I'm only going to focus on one game for tonight. Screw the other ones because I'm taking the Jets against the Giants. I'm seeing the starters play tonight. That means Sauce Gardner. That means Garrett Wilson, potentially Breece Hall. And this Jets offense, it might be a vanilla scheme, but dang it, I get to watch Aaron Rodgers throw a ball for real. And it matters, sort of. Oh God, man, I'm you know what? Screw it. I'm going with like 38-0 by the Jets against the Giants because that's how much I want to see this team perform. Oh.
Okay. All right. 38-0, and that's his game pick. Chris, if you want to go.
All right. Jets over the Giants. Washington over Cincinnati. Baltimore bounces back and beats Tampa Bay. It's the last week of preseason, so it's kind of really hard for me to really get into it. I'm ready for the regular season to start. I'm ready to see Chiefs, Lions, and Arrowhead. And this season's going to be fun because there's just multiple storylines, and it's going to be a fun season for everybody unless you're an Arizona Cardinals fan.
Yikes. That's a good one, but I agree. All right, game picks. I'm going to be the outlier here, man. Giants over the Jets, just to make you mad, Juan, for no other reason but to get on your nerves. Okay. Texans Saints on Sunday. I'm going to go with give me the Texans, man, because that's my division rival. So bump all that. Broncos versus the Rams. I'm going to take the Broncos. I think they got a little more depth. Raiders versus the Cowboys. Cowboys haven't won yet, so give me the Raiders. Dolphins versus the Jags. Give me the Jags. Ravens versus the Bucks. Ravens got to bounce back. They lost their first game since 2015. Their first preseason game since 2015.
I told you last week, and I told you as much that they would lose that game.
You did call it. You did call it. Go back and watch, ladies and gentlemen. He did call it. And then last but not least, Bengals versus the Commanders. Give me the Commanders. And watch out for the Commanders this season, y'all. All I'm saying, man.
They're scrappy.
They're scrappy team.
With Sam Howell, they're scrappy.
Might do some stuff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us here at the Air It Out podcast. But please do me a favor. Follow us on all of your social media platforms. That's Facebook and Instagram at Inside the Hashes, Twitter at Inside Hashes. That is correct. And please do me a favor. Go to the website. That's www.insidethehashes.com. That way you'll get all your football content. You got blogs, interviews, podcasts, fantasy. Speaking of which, I'm going to win this year, hopefully. But well, anyway.
Also, RIP to Bob Barker.
All right. And last but not least, please go to YouTube, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and then turn on the notifications. That way you can get your comments placed in live as we podcast. All right. Please do that. And then if you don't want to do any of those things and do it individually, all you got to do is scan the QR code that's right here. Scan that QR code, and it'll take you exactly where you need to go. All right. But until then, ladies and gentlemen, it's been the Air It Out podcast, brought to you by Inside the Hashes. Juan and Chris, my name is Avery, and all I got to say is very simple. I believe that Brock Purdy actually is going to be really good in San Fran if he doesn't pat the ball like Matt Ryan used to do. Because Matt Ryan got to stop patting the football. If he stopped patting the football, he wouldn't be retired right now.
We'll see you next time, everybody.
In this game right now.
He's still being in the league right now. It wouldn't be no empty register and all that stuff. That's all I'm saying.